Hello YouTube, ValleyGirl5678 here, and it is finally time for my best albums of 2024. Now, if you were with me last year, you would recall that I only did a top 20 albums of the year, and if you are a music fan, which of course you are, you're watching this, you will also recall that this was a really stellar year for music. Now, the main headlines will say it was a stellar year for pop music, which it absolutely was. We had Brat Summer, we had the lesbian pop renaissance, we had a classic hip-hop style rap beef between two of the most prolific rap/hip-hop artists of our time. But with all of that being said, this was also an incredible year for indie music across genres. So you will very much see both of these main aspects of the music landscape of 2024 in this list. Now, while it is a top 30 albums of the year, I do have 5 honorable mentions in no particular order. We have Memoir of a Sparkle Muffin by Suki Waterhouse, The XOXO by Camila Cabello, Bug by Casey Hill, This Is How Tomorrow Moves by Beabadoobee, and Chromacopia by Tyler, the Creator. Now getting into the actual list, at number 30 we have Seed of a Seed by Hailey Hendrix. Now, Hailey Hendrix had not put out a full-length album since 2018, so when I heard that she was putting out a project, I was super excited. However, her 2018 album was definitely a bit more of a full-length LP than this project, Seed of a Seed, is. It is more of a collection of songs. However, these songs are impeccable indie folk rock. The lyricism, her vocal performances, the instrumentation, it's all just done so well. Coming in at number 29, we have God Said No by Omar Apollo. This album was a bit of a pleasant surprise for me. I was expecting a bit more of a pop-forward vibe from him, given the singles that were released prior to the full album release. There's honestly a lot of really beautifully written and performed ballads on this project, as well as some production stylings that are different for him but just work. Then you also have the slay pop rock tracks like Spite. And overall, it's just a versatile, cohesive project that really showcases what he does best while also showing that he is more than just his shtick. Coming in at number 28, we have Blue Raspberry from Katie Kirby. This is the first album I reviewed this year. It came out back in January. Katie Kirby is definitely an underrated indie rock girl. This is practically a concept album about a first lesbian romance. The writing is really fleshed out. You can tell she put a lot of thought, not just into every single song, but how they all work together and tell a cohesive story. Coming in at number 27, we have Evergreen from Soccer Mommy. If you've been subscribed to me for a while, you know I'm a Soccer Mommy stan. I did love this project. I didn't love it as much as her 2022 album, but nevertheless, there are a lot of great moments on this album. To me, Soccer Mommy is just kind of a staple in the indie rock scene, to the point where even when she puts out something that isn't necessarily her best, it's still one of the best albums of the year. And there are songs on here like Driver and Abigail that are such classic Soccer Mommy tracks in a way where you just can't ignore her impact. Coming in at number 26, we have Don't Forget Me from Maggie Rogers. Obviously, we stan Maggie Rogers in this house. Something I love about Maggie is that her aesthetic is so simple. She's one of the only pop-leaning artists left. They're clearly her number one focus in creating her artistic world is herself as an artist and the music she creates. And this album just exemplifies this idea beautifully. I believe they wrote and recorded this whole project in like 3 to 5 days, which is kind of insane. And while there are some simpler moments on the album that kind of do give that, oh, maybe this was written and recorded all in one day, there are other moments where it is shocking that something that good and seemingly well thought out and well written could have been done in a day. So yeah, props to Maggie and her collaborators for that. Coming in at number 25, we have Underdressed at the Symphony by Faye Webster. I love me some Faye Webster. Similarly to the Soccer Mommy album, I wouldn't say this is like my favorite Faye Webster project. It is a bit on the shorter side. The lyricism does get a bit repetitive, but that is kind of the point. You can tell she really followed her artistic instincts with a lot of the choices she made on this project. It's still Faye Webster, so it's still gonna be one of the best albums of the year. Coming in at number 24, we have Oh My God, That's So Me from OK Kaya. Now, this is a project unlike the Faye Webster project, where there is a huge range of types of choices being made. However, the project is still so cohesive, and that is because of OK Kaya's insanely intricate and intelligent poetry that is her lyricism. Because there's some tracks where she is basically almost singing a cappella, and then there are tracks with really experimental instrumentation and production, and then there are tracks that are almost like indie pop vibes. But what remains steady throughout the entire project is her incredibly unique and very vibrant poetic lyricism. Coming in at number 23, we have Short and Sweet from Sabrina Carpenter. This was definitely one of the best pop albums of the year, obviously. It is short and sweet. I think every track on here is a really well-written pop song, and I like that within the pop sound she plays around with other genres, whether it's country or R&B. R&B. Similar to the OK Kai project, what remains is her very witty, to the point, clean-cut lyricism. She is also absolutely underrated as a vocalist. She does some pretty insane stuff on here, especially in her backing vocals. Do I prefer Emails I Can't Send? Absolutely. Is this still a stellar pop album? Yes. Speaking of stellar pop albums that are still not this artist's best, but are still one of the best albums of the year, we got the Tortured Poets department, the anthology version by Taylor Swift at number 22. That was a mouthful. The reason I specify the anthology version is because some of Taylor's best writing are on some of these incredibly deep cuts on the anthology version. The main Tortured Poets album, the first 16 tracks from Fortnite to Clairvaux, not my favorite Taylor album. Not her best pop work. It's not bad, it's still Taylor Swift, but to me it doesn't even touch Midnight. But some of the anthology tracks kind of touch folklore. Coming in at number 21, we have My Light, My Destroyer by Cassandra Jenkins. This is an absolutely beautiful project. It has a lot of really intimate, melancholic, beautiful moments, but it also has a lot of moments of uplift and fun, embellished with certain interludes that I have to say really do add to the story she's telling. And the album closes off on a instrumental track titled Haley, and I think it's really sapphic in a really beautiful way. Coming in at number 20, we have Here in the Pitch from Jessica Pratt. Jessica Pratt has one of the most interesting voices out there. While this album is on the shorter side with only 10 tracks, her vocal performances and poetry just cannot be ignored. While I do wish there was a bit more versatility instrumentally and production-wise on this album, the quality and content of each individual song is just so impressive that I don't really care that it's not that versatile. Coming in at number 19, we have All Born Screaming from St. Vincent. Now this album is production-wise a bit gritty. It calls back to a lot of St. Vincent's earlier stuff, and with it she brings a lot of really fun vocal performances. Like, she really leaves everything on the table and it just really works. And while it is grungy and fun in that way, thematically it's pretty deep and really just represents that you kind of never stop learning through life. Coming in at number 18, we have Cowboy Carter from Beyonce. Now, while I absolutely prefer Renaissance to Cowboy Carter, you cannot ignore the feat that this album is. I will say I do think that she didn't need to do all that. I don't think she needed to bring in, you know, iconic country figures. I don't think she needed to do all the covers she did. I think that her original country songs just stand on their own, and she didn't need to embellish them on either side with all the interludes and special guests and what have you. And of course you have songs on here that I will say do get lost with the length of the album, but I also understand why she made those choices. You have songs on here like 16 Carriages, Texas Hold'em, Two Most Wanted, Men, even The Closer. Just some really well written and well performed country songs that also really show how much of a powerhouse Beyonce is and how versatile she is and how still kind of underrated she is. Coming in at number 17, we have Big Ideas from Remy Wolf. This is a really cohesive, really fun indie pop rock project. She has some amazing vocal performances on here, some really great ideas for songs, some of the catchiest melodies you will hear all year, and some really great instrumentation and production. Coming in at number 16, we have Eternal Sunshine from Ariana Grande. Talk about underrated. Honestly, I'm sorry. She just makes some of the best fucking music. I'm sorry. Like, even when it's lines that, in my opinion, are not like the best written, she still performs them on top of some impeccable production that makes it so I really don't care that that line made no sense. This was also technically a concept album, and it was really well executed. Should have been nominated for Album of the Year. Sorry, I know the Grammys have beef with her. I don't know why, but yeah, it's underrated. Coming in at number 15, we have What a Relief from Katie Gavin. Katie Gavin is the lead singer of Muna, the lesbian band. This is her first solo project. Now, it does not sound like Muna at all, and I think that's really awesome. This is practically a folk album. It has beautiful lyricism, really soft yet intricate instrumentation, really beautiful songs about life in many different forms, and some really just like honest vocal performances from Katie. This is probably, in my opinion, the most underrated album of the year. I've not heard like anyone talk about it. I think it's amazing. Coming in at number 14, we have Jour 1596, which is a collaborative project from Hildegard, Helena Deland, and Ori. This is also a shorter project, only at 10 tracks, running like 25 minutes, but oh my god, guys, this production is amazing. It is synthy yet effervescent. It is loose and free, yet still fleshed out and grounded. It is choppy, yet groovy at the same time. It's just like nothing else I've heard all year, and it's one of the best albums of the year. Coming in at number 13, we have Older from Lizzie McAlpine. This is also absolutely an underrated album from this year. As Taylor Swift has said about Phoebe Bridgers, I could listen to Lizzie McAlpine sing The Phone Book and I would be happy. She has that kind of like theater kid intention behind every word she sings, and it works so well in this indie singer-songwriter sort of genre she's found herself in. The lyricism on this project is raw, it is honest, it perfectly exemplifies what it feels like to be kind of slowly exiting your early 20s into your mid-20s, and all the kind of confusion and self-doubt and chaos that brings. And it is mostly all through the lens of a relationship that she paints as something that was kind of doomed from the start, but also just cannot be broken. Not only is the lyricism so well written, but the song structures are so well written. The instrumentation is beautiful. It's just a really great project. Coming in at number 12, we have GNX from Kendrick Lamar. Again, this is another project that came out this year by an artist where this is not my favorite album of theirs at all, but it's Kendrick Lamar, so it's still gonna be one of the best albums of the year. It's still gonna be up there. I really appreciate how a lot of this album is kind of chill. Like, he very much is talking his shit, but more in a conversational type of way. And I think it really works with his natural flow. He's very straight to the point on this project in a way that I don't know if he's ever really done before, or at least has not done since his earlier stuff. And it is kind of refreshing after many albums of his that are like, you know, kind of soaked in metaphor. There are some really great features on this album. Yeah, well, I definitely liked his 2022 album better. This is still a great project. Coming in at number 11, we have We'll Have to Lose Something from Spirit of the Beehive. Now, I don't even know what genre to say this album is. It is genre bending. Even in its experimentation, it still has moments of catchiness, of melodic satisfaction, of really interesting lyrical and thematic motifs, vocal performances from the various members of the band. It's definitely an underrated album, but they are definitely an underrated band as well. Okay, we are in the top 10. Coming in at number 10, we have Hit Me Hard and Soft from Billie Eilish. Now, this album I definitely like a lot better than Happier Than Ever. Happier Than Ever was kind of a collection of songs. This is like a fucking LP. You could almost say this is like a concept album, with the way she weaves together certain lyrical and melodic motifs throughout the album. In many ways, this is the most cohesive pop project of the year, because even though she never says hit me hard and soft on the project at any point, the whole album just screams that in its thematic and sonic motifs. You have a pop hit about eating a girl out lunch. You have Birds of a Feather, which transcends Billie Eilish herself. It is just a classic. You have deeper cuts like The Diner and Bittersweet that really call to what made Billie Eilish such a standout star at the beginning. Her unique aesthetic that is dark, yet still kind of innocent. While I do think that When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go is slightly better crafted, this is absolutely a more mature project. It really shows where she's going as an artist, and it definitely feels like the correct follow-up to When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? Like, this is Billie. Coming in at number 9, we have Alligator Bites Never Heal from Doechii. I got onto Doechii this year through this project. She is the one to watch in hip-hop. This album not only gives rap perfection, but it also gives amazing pop and R&B through Doechii's creative lens. She really shows you all she can do on this project. She makes borderline existential statements about where we are in hip-hop history. She gives insane performances. And on top of that, she's really honest and raw through the lyricism itself. She's not afraid to say what a lot of people are afraid to say. She's gonna do it through an insane flow. Coming in at number 8, we have My Method Actor from Nilüfer Yanya. Now, this is just one of the best indie projects of the year, like hands down. The way she sort of flirts with indie rock, it needs to be studied. She just makes some of the most satisfying music. It's so hard to describe, honestly. I love her voice, even though I often don't know what she's saying because of her accent. Once I read the lyrics, it is clear that she is a songwriter as well. This album works in any season, any time of day. It is just one of the best crafted albums of the year. Speaking of one of the best crafted albums of the year, number 7, Bright Future, Adrian Lenker. Now, Adrian Lenker could tell me to do anything and I would do it. I wish that I would love to spend a day in her brain brain. This album is so tragically sad and melancholic, but it is also so hopeful and beautiful, whether that's through the lyricism, her performances of that lyricism, the sort of around the campfire vibes that almost feels like it was passed down from Big Thief's 2022 project. She still manages to have fun through the sadness with moments like Donut Scene. She does a killer rendition of Vampire Empire. She is just the only lesbian to have ever existed, and I want her to teach me everything about life, and I want to forget my past and just be her, or be with her, or watch her, whatever she wants. Coming in at number 6, we have Tiger's Blood from Waxahachie. I think I pronounced that right. I have not really listened to Waxahachie until this album, and oh my god, do I need to go back and do a deep discography dive, because this woman is a poet. Listening to her music does require a dictionary. The level of poetry that she possesses does make me feel stupid at times, but I don't care, because just listening to her songs is a gift. Not only are these songs on this project so well written lyrically, melodically, they are just oof, they just hit you right in the feels, and that is mostly because her vocal performances are insanely beautiful. The only reason it is not higher up is because I do think the project can get a little repetitive. I do think she could have cut a few tracks, but overall this is just an insanely good country folk project. Coming in at number 5, we have Charm by Clairo. Now listen, do all these songs kind of sound the same? Maybe. But is that actually a good thing? Yes, because the instrumentation and production on this album, oh my god, she just took herself to new heights with this. She just solidified herself as a Gen Z classic. I love how the lyricism is simple and not too heavy, but still very much gets her point across. And while all the songs on here have instrumentation and production that are all quite similar, the pacing and general vibes of the songs definitely vary. For example, the last few songs on the album are much softer and slower than the songs at the beginning of the album, and there's moments in between that vary. It's another kind of hit me hard and soft moment where she never says charm on the album at all. There's no title track, nothing like that, but the album as a whole gives charm. This is an album about charm and what it feels like to be charmed, what it feels like to want to be charming, the phenomenon of charm itself. I honestly don't think people take Clairo seriously enough as a musician. I'll say it. Coming in at number 4, we have Still from Erika Decassier. This is a beautiful experimental R&B album. Her vocals match the production perfectly on every track throughout the whole album, and it's very cohesive in that sense. And that is that her vocals and the production are all quite soft, but in a very sultry way, and in a way that is often unexpected. There's a lot of soft percussion in the production that just beautifully enhances her borderline whispery vocals at times. And further, the general themes on this project, down to the fact that the album is called Still, are beautifully cohesive with the sonic content, because nothing she is saying on this album is all that complex, all that complicated. Everything on here is very straight to the point. The track Anxious is about being anxious. The song Ex-Girlfriend is about being an ex-girlfriend. But it is done in a way that exudes confidence and understanding of the themes and the music itself. I think this is a super underrated album from this year. I think it is the perfect length, has the perfect balance of cohesion and versatility, and I think it's her best. Coming in at number 3, we have Only God Was Above Us by Vampire Weekend. Now this is a Vampire Weekend album. If you listen to Vampire Weekend sonically, you're like, yeah, this is Vampire Weekend. But when you take a step back and you listen to what they're doing on this project, it cannot be ignored that this is one of the best albums of the year. Thematically, it is quite an existential project, and it is done with instrumentation that calls to so many different eras of music in an almost chaotic way that, as many music journalists have said, a lot of things on this album shouldn't work, but they do work. And not only do they work, but they work so well. Ezra Koenig's vocals just, I don't know, this man speaks to me. I love that these songs are full. Many of them are around 5 minutes. While there's only about like 10 tracks on this project, each song is fully formed, and with that fully has something to say. This album is a sign of the times, and I'm very much a believer that that makes for a album of the year. Speaking of sign of the times, number 2 is Imaginal Disc from Magdalena Bay. Now this is the most underrated pop album of the year, hands down. This album is genius. It is honestly quite impressive how sonically varied this album is while still being so cohesive. There are instrumental moments on here that you would not expect on a like synthy experimental pop record, but they come in at the perfect time always, and they always do exactly what you need. In my opinion, being an artist myself, like everything is about choices, and what Mac and Mika did on this project is a marriage of all the correct choices. You can dance to this album, but also study it in an intellectual and philosophical way. It is a genius album, and it's one of my favorites of the year, obviously. And of course, at number 1, are we surprised? It's Brat. I mean, Charlie XCX just kind of owns this year. I'm sorry, I get that another album will probably win album of the year just because Charlie XCX is much more niche and indie, I guess, than like someone like Billie Eilish or Beyonce. But oh my god, this is the album of the year, regardless of who wins the Grammy. Charli XCX, the straight woman that you are, bringing gay culture to the forefront. It is not just the marketing genius that was this album rollout, it's the music itself. It is both of them combined to create the album of the year. The culture finally caught up to her, and she claimed a fucking color. So yeah, those are my top 30 albums of 2024. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify, all linked below. And stay tuned for my top 50 songs of the year video. Please let me know what your favorite or few favorite top albums of the year were. I would love to know. Bye!